It all begins on the African shores in the Kingdom of Fire. Motorized boats from Europe approach the coast, led by a man, Mr. Dubeur, and his right-hand man, his henchman, Mr. Gaucher. Upon their arrival, to their surprise, what they discover is not a wild continent. The Fire Kingdom is not only rich in gold and silk, it is built upon knowledge. The blacksmiths craft tools with unmatched precision. The scholars study the stars to predict the seasons. The healers, true living encyclopedias, master hundreds of medicinal plants. Every child grows up honoring their ancestors, learning the values of courage, honesty, and solidarity. This is clearly not a wild world, but a vibrant and thriving civilization, strong and organized. Faithful to our legendary hospitality, we welcome these strangers warmly. Mr. Dubeur is hosted and lives with the family of Mr. Hebi, a polygamist and father of 8 children. A grand ceremony is organized, and Mr. Dubeur is even offered a wife. The king, the village dignitaries, the healer greets his merchants who offer textiles, beads, and trinkets. Everything seems perfect, but this trade is just a mask. Mr. Dubeur and his men are captivated, impressed by our arable lands and all our natural resources, which seem vast and endless to them. Since we only know abundance, we cannot imagine that this is what they lack most in their own land. They observe, study, and take notes. They easily understand that our spirituality is the foundation of our social order, the glue binding our knowledge systems, medicinal science, and the rituals of passage. It shapes our relationship with nature. They also realize that the village healer, guardian of the sacred totem, is the key. At nightfall, by killing his totem with a gunshot, the healer dies instantly. The kingdom is in mourning, now vulnerable. Taking advantage of the funeral, Mr. Gaucher, under the orders of the butter, naturally, suddenly brandishes his stick that spits fire. A single shot, the king collapses. Immediately a burst of gunfire is unleashed toward the royal court, then into the panicked crowd. The noise and the rush of blood make everyone dive to the ground, terrified. In the aftermath, the warriors retaliate but are neutralized in record time. Their spears and arrows are no match for the bullets. Terror becomes law. But why did Mr. Dubeur make the journey all the way to the Kingdom of Fayat? The Industrial Revolution in Europe led to a massive drop in mortality, resulting in a population explosion. This overpopulation caused unemployment and misery. So the problem is clear. 1. New lands must be found to absorb the surplus population. 2. Secure new sources of wealth to sustain their elites. That's how he set out to conquer the world, and thus Africa as well. To achieve their goal, he formulated a 4-step strategic roadmap under their key motto: under the sign of the cross, by the force of the cannon, for the glory of gold. Phase 1, take our minds. Impose their religion, their schools, and their ideas to shape the way we think. From childhood. Phase 2. Take our land and our power. Use military force to dominate, redraw borders, and divide peoples. Phase 3. Extract our wealth. Exploit our minds, our fields, our resources, and impose their currencies to control our economy. Phase 4. Perpetuate domination, and then turn colonization into neo-colonialism. Maintain influence through debt, unfair and unequal economic agreements, political manipulation. Welcome to forced labor. Men, women, and even young children are forcibly separated from their families to work in the extraction of rubber or to build railways with their bare hands over rough terrain. Refusal or weakness lead to mutilation or death. So many beheadings, so many rapes, so many villages burned to achieve these ends. The resistors were crushed. Hands cut off as an example, shootings and intimidation became commonplace. While the land grieves for our dead, warriors in the forest are organizing ambushes. The children, using coded words, continue to keep the memory of their ancestors alive. With every bullet fired, a legend is born. As violence having been used to successfully establish a relationship of domination, Mr. Dubeur and his team can now begin to deploy their second weapon: The very sharpest, the most insidious, the most effective, and the most enduring. Their religion. Sacred places are burned in public squares, fetishes are desecrated. It is this religion which, without shedding blood, will maintain domination, will disarm and distort generation after generation, because they spread it, grafted it into souls and hearts through an extremely well-designed tool, the school. This is how the slow and powerful plundering of the soul begins. Churches rise where ancestors once stood guard. Gregorian chants drown out the drums. They preach to us submission, forgiveness, endurance in suffering, and reward in the afterlife. They claim, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." If someone slaps you on the right cheek, let them slap you on the left as well. No need to explain that this was meant to discourage resistance. They teach us that our gods are inferior, that our ancestors were savages, that our practices are evil, that our skin is impure, that our names are pagan. Abdu becomes Albert, Minga becomes Mary, and when darkness falls, far from the eyes of the missionaries, our fathers tell us the secrets of the stars and the legends that make the stars shiver. Religion doesn't just steal souls, it robs pride. Even the griots, once the bearers of memory, are tragically silenced. Religious conversion becomes an act of survival. Step by step, the school, a true Trojan horse of religion, becomes the only way to avoid the worst abuses. Children learn to read and write in the colonial language to become interpreters or civil servants to serve the colonial machine. For families, sending a child to school means saving their life and soul. And while we are saving our souls, they are plundering us, they are stealing from us. As Mr. Dubeur and colleagues plunder in complete peace, their neighbors in turn discover this new El Dorado. Quickly, they clash on our lands which they have taken over without our consent, to avoid fratricide and killing each other. They reach a formal agreement and convene together in Berlin during the winter of 1884 to 85. Around the table, 14 European and American countries are gathered. 0 African representatives. And yes, when you're not at the table, it means you're on the menu. To them, we are not human beings. We are their property, their belongings. We are a delicious cake to be shared. A single criterion, our resources. The great African kingdoms are shattered, divided, partitioned, broken up into microstates. The arbitrary straight lines drawn through villages become our borders, which still haunt the continent today. Communities as well as families are split between several states. This is the reign, the dictatorship of artificial borders, which serve only their interests. Once Africa is broken up and divided, the ogres continue to fight among themselves to expand their empires in Europe. The First and Second World Wars break out. The problem is they have no soldiers. The solution, deport us as human shields, as cannon fodder. By the thousands, we are forcibly enlisted in these wars that are not ours, our lives sacrificed for the freedom of those who oppress us. Back in the kingdom of fire, instead of being welcomed as heroes, they coldly gun us down, simply because we asked for our earned pay.
Je voulais réparer une injustice et saluer la mémoire d'hommes qui portaient l'uniforme français et sur lesquels les Français avaient retourné leurs fusils.
The memories of the hundreds of African riflemen killed by the French colonial troops remain indelible.
Les événements qui ont eu lieu ici en décembre 1944 sont tout simplement épouvantables, insupportables.
Unacceptable. Africa is set ablaze as, in a wave of revolt from the Maghreb to sub-Saharan Africa, resistance rises. Figures like Kwame Nkrumah, Ernest Wanjier, Félix Moumier, Nyobe, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara promote ideals of sovereignty and self-determination. In the kingdom of fire, Mr. Dubeur thinks he is still in control. In the war to which he forced us, we learned that they are not as invincible as we thought. During a final attempt to crush an uprising, he is caught off guard by our now highly determined organization. He is overwhelmed by fear and the shock of realizing that his domination has significantly unraveled. He is forced to loosen his grip and he realizes it. However, Mr. Duber is aware he can't live without our resources, now vital to him to maintain his standard of living. He then executes his final masterstroke, leaving without leaving. He makes arrangements and leaves Mr. Toto at the head of the Kingdom of Fire. Toto is one of those rare Africans who is endlessly at his beck and call, a house Negro. Duber gives Mr. Toto a secret book that explains to him the recipe for staying at the head of the kingdom forever. And this, no matter the will of the people. It's the Constitution, its role, to perpetuate Mr. Duber's hold despite his so-called departure. Time has passed, and in his condescension, he didn't see it coming. This new generation of uninhibited Africans who have clearly understood the game. This generation of Africans who today reject their proxies, challenge their culture, renegotiate the colonial agreements they imposed without hesitation and without compromise. Mr. Duber and his crew no longer hold the cards, and in fact, they're fighting among themselves again. Today, we are greater in number, more educated, more connected, and more determined than ever before. Today, young people, remember, you are the heirs of a people who stand tall. Despite the chains, the bullets, the raised crosses, we have remained unbroken and proud. Our drums still beat. History does not end with wounds. It continues each and every single time an African child stands up, proud of who we are. Today, it's time to stop playing on their field by their rules. It's time to impose our own vision, to take back full control of our resources, to make our unity and our identity an unstoppable force. The time for silent resistance is over. Now is the time for sovereign and intentional action. This is not just about getting revenge on history, no. It's about building, about transforming the world with our science, our own truths, our own narrative, which will allow us to free ourselves, to find ourselves again, to unite. And it starts today, with us, with you, right here in MANSSAH. Rethink, transform Africa, and inspire the world.